In this video, I'm going to go over all of the Nike racing shoes for the past few years, talk about which ones were my favorites, which ones I use the most, and maybe some I used the least or didn't use at all. All right, before I get started, I did want to go over some disclosures here. I am partnered with Nike Running. They have sent me some of these shoes to try out, but they are not influencing what videos I make or what I say on this specific video. Okay, so I think with that disclosure out of the way, I'm going to start all the way back at the beginning of the super shoe era, and that is with the Nike Vaporfly 4%. So this shoe was a product of the Breaking 2 project that Nike had to try to break the 2-hour mark in the marathon. This was in progress for several years. This shoe was actually released in 2017. The actual shoe that was used in the Breaking 2 project was the Vaporfly Elite, but this was the consumer version called the Vaporfly 4%. Obviously, it promised a 4% improvement in running economy. That is the figure that Nike had seen throughout their lab testing during the development of the shoe. So I started running in 2018, the end of 2018. At that time, this shoe had already been it had been released, but it was almost impossible to get your hands on. And being new to running, I didn't get the shoe. I never ran in this shoe. I purchased this shoe sometime last year, I think. I believe I got it on StockX just to try out because I had never run in it, and I wanted to have a pair just to see how they were. Okay, so I never ran in that shoe when I was starting running. The first super shoe that I got was the Nike Vaporfly 4% Flyknit. So this was the subsequent shoe to this. The mesh version was a knit version, full booty upper. This one came out in 2018, so that was the year that I started running. I picked this one up, this exact pair, the bright crimson color, and this was my first introduction to super shoes. So up till that point, I had never run in a carbon-plated shoe. I loved it. Almost immediately, I could tell it felt like it was maybe 15, 20 seconds per mile faster just by putting this shoe on. So was really amazed by that. I did run my first marathon in this shoe. It was in 2019 at Grandma's Marathon in Duluth. I ran a 2:52 in this exact pair of Vaporfly 4%. The next shoe in the Nike running and race shoe history is the Vaporfly Next %. So they changed the naming a little bit from the calling out a specific percentage, and then just went with a Next % nomenclature. So this shoe actually came out in the spring of 2019. So the initial release was in the spring of 2019, which was before I ran Grandma's Marathon, but I wasn't able to get a hold of it. So at this time, the Nike Super shoes were still quite hard to get, and I wasn't able to secure a pair, so I finally did get my hands on these during the summer of 2019. This shoe was, really light, really stiff, really aggressive. The upper is this vapor weave. It is a lot more secure, almost no stretch compared to this one, which is a stretchy knit material. Unfortunately, in 2019, I got an Achilles injury, ended up not running a marathon in 2019, and it took quite a long time, several months of recovery to get back into running full time. So I never actually have ever run a full marathon in this shoe. I have run shorter races in it, but never a marathon. All right, the next jump forward in Nike running shoes was the Alphafly. So this shoe was originally used by Eliud Kipchoge for the Ineos 159 project. He ran in the white pair with the pink heel. This Valerian blue color was the first colorway that was released to the public. Interesting story with this. At the time of super shoes around this era, and trying to understand with the World Athletics, or how World Athletics would handle development shoes and how they could be used in competitions. There was a rule put in place after the Ineos 159 project that limited stack heights to 40 millimeters in the heel, which deemed this shoe legal. Just barely. And then the other rule that was put into place was that they restricted the use of prototype or development shoes to essentially require a manufacturer to have the shoe model available for all athletes for specific events at the professional and world level. So what Nike did with this shoe was at the US Olympic Trials Marathon, which was in the very beginning of 2020. They showed up with a full shipment of Alphafly shoes and handed them out to every competitor that wanted them. I was able to pick up this pair from one of those runners that didn't want to actually run in the shoe due to other obligations at the time. But this shoe, I felt like, was really just a huge game changer for me. It was way bouncier than anything I'd ever used. Immediately became my favorite shoe. So I ran a ton of marathons during the 2020 time frame and then beyond in the Alphafly 1. The next update that came out was the Vaporfly Next Percent 2. Okay, my camera overheated, but I think I'm back and we are on to the Vaporfly Next Percent 2. So this is a new upper compared to the original Vaporfly Next Percent. This shoe came out in 2021. Same midsole, very much the same feel as the original Vaporfly. At this point, my favorite was still the Alphafly 1. So I really didn't run any races that I think that entire year with the Vaporfly Next Percent 2. I did run one marathon in it in 2022. That was New York City, more or less just to try it out, just to say that I've run a marathon in a Vaporfly. Really no issues, but again, I still felt the Alphafly was more bouncy and more fun for me. So I did run shorter races in this. I ran workouts in all the Vaporflies, but really my marathon shoe was still the Alphafly 1 at this point. Okay, so then getting into, I believe it was 2022, kind of the middle part of the year, 2022, the Alphafly 2 was released. So this was the pretty big update to this shoe, midsole change as well as a refreshed upper. One thing I found on this one, I think a lot of people found, it did seem a little bit less bouncy than the previous one. The other thing that they changed was the overall fit was a little bit different. So the previous one had the original Alphafly had a really prominent high arch, as well as narrow midfoot. They made it a little bit wider in this model. Unfortunately, what that did for a lot of people, including myself, is I noticed a little bit further up in the foot, there is sometimes a hot spot that was created. So overall, the wider fit actually felt better and more comfortable to me. So I actually did like this shoe and preferred it in general to the Alphafly 1. Even though it was a little bit less bouncy, I did feel it was a little bit more comfortable, with the watch out that I did get a hot spot once in a while, just due to that arch feeling in the just a little bit forward of the midfoot in this model. But I ran a bunch of marathons, full marathons, and races of other distance in this in the Alphafly 2. Then in 2023, switched to the Alphafly 3 as my main race shoe. So this came out, and definitely this was the first time that the Vaporfly really truly kind of impressed me and won me over as a marathon race shoe. Again, this was a full update to the Vaporfly, so all new midsole, new upper, new outsole. Still has ZoomX foam, still has a full-length carbon plate, but the geometries and the fit were all just completely different. So this one also, I felt like the midfoot changed quite a bit, made it a lot more comfortable. It was a roomier toe box, really made it so this one felt good on my foot all through the full marathon distance. Really no comfort issues on this one. Really great fit. The other thing I found was it seemed like there was a little bit more cushion under the forefoot on this model. So maybe a little bit more of an Alphafly-like feeling. Not quite the same without the AirPods, but less maybe firm and responsive of a feeling compared to the previous Vaporfly. A little bit more cushioned, a little bit more bounce. Really enjoyed this shoe a lot. I believe I ran 8 marathons in 2023 in the Vaporfly 3 and really just enjoyed all of them. Okay, so then that brings me to the last model. So this is the Alphafly 3, due to come out in January 2024. I have now run 300 miles in this pair, including one full marathon. and I really love it. I think this is going to take the spot from the Vaporfly, bring me back to preferring the Alphafly for the marathon distance. All of the bounce from the Alphafly 1 is back, as well as it is the lightest Alphafly model, and I also think it is the most comfortable Alphafly model. So, or I guess even any Nike race shoe model in general, it is, to me, the most accommodating fit through the forefoot, as well as just this sock-like upper is really good. So no more of the hot spot issues that you might have felt, or I might have felt on the previous Alphaflys. I think the arch is really comfortable. Again, this is a shoe I can really like have walk around type comfort in, where in the past a lot of these shoes were just, you know, race day, fast pace only, and then immediately after it'll be just pop them right off, where these feels like it's a completely different level of comfort that you get from these, and I really enjoy the feel. And I can't recall if I mentioned this, but it is the lightest Alphafly model of the 3 Alphaflys. It brings it very close to the Vaporfly. It's not quite as light, but in the past, where it had been over an ounce heavier to get into the Alphafly, it's now much less than that. I think it's only about 15 grams difference between the 2 models. Okay, with that is my summary of the Nike race shoes, going all the way from the Vaporfly 4% through the different Vaporfly and Alphafly models, and ending with the Alphafly 3. So I hope you found that useful or interesting, and thank you for watching.